Oh, okay, there we go. Sorry, my microphone was being weird on stream. Okay, well, hello. Thank you guys for joining us. Um, Thanks to everybody who's watching or on the VOD. This is our fifth Marshmallow Jetpack Campfire Chat. If anybody's watching now or again on the VOD and missed the last one, we were chatting with a good friend, Corey, who's the ship artist for Next Horizon. I don't know. I had a really good time with it. Just yeah, especially by the end, and not only that, but like first of all, the fact that he can do it, but like to do it and hold the conversation, right? Anyway, if you couldn't make that one, we do have the VOD on our YouTube channel that you guys can go and check out, see what Corey created, and some of like the really cool, just like the process, and I can't stress enough, really cool process. And additionally, if anybody else has any questions during the stream, feel free to type in chat for us. We'll answer them accordingly. This week, Russ and Sam are going to be taking us through the planets of Next Horizon and talk about some of their functionality and, how to find them and just kind of the role they play within the game. So we'll go ahead and start with that.
people to live, and that's kind of where planets come into play with regards to Next Horizon. As we talk about planets, there's basically going to be kind of a colony hierarchical status.
Russ, you know what?
And
I'm so sorry. Hold on one
no,
second, because it
I
does
think that
look.
was my fault. I threw Twitch on and
No, 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 not even that. I think there's again something being weird with. Yeah, with the sound on this.
that should be fine.
I don't
okay.
know what it was.
Are
Okay. Yeah.
you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we're good. Just in case, could you go over from
Sure.
the beginning again? Sorry about that.
No worries. So what I was saying is previously in our other streams, we've talked a good bit about the ships and how their role impacts Next Horizon. But one of the main concepts of the game is really the colonization of the Andromeda Galaxy. And obviously you have to have a place to colonize, and that's where planets are going to really come into play. And we wanted to spend some time today kind of taking a deeper look at that and seeing if there's any questions and from the community and really share a lot of what we've been working on there.
Okay, awesome. I
And
mean, I I think I mentioned it before, just in part. You know, you yourself and Sam and some of the design team have been focusing on this more than like conversations that I've been in. So like a learning experience for me. So I'll probably have a bunch of questions.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. Feel
yeah.
free to chime in if there's anything that you have a question about.
And anyone from the audience who's watching or watching the replay, jump in the Discord and shoot your messages across. We're there to answer.
Absolutely. Cool. So to get started, there's what we're expecting to have right now when we start is basically six original colonies, and those basically Ace is kind of located at a spot in the in the Andromeda galaxy, and Ace has kind of put their base of operations in the center of this. And the first six planets that you'll see are going to be the ones originally discovered through Ace, and kind of where everything originates from. Basically going in one of six directions. Those are probably going to be, we haven't completely settled on it, but right now we've got them labeled alpha, beta, delta, epsilon, zeta, and gamma. That is subject to change. Most of the things that you're going to have that come up in the game as far as assignments from your ships are going to originate from one of these six original colonies to start with. And in a colony, that means basically there's a planet and we're working to have people inhabit that. So the first step is you're going to have a planet owner. Individuals that are participants in the game will own these planets, and they'll be able to basically do a build out of their colony on that planet, and they'll have a selection of things that they can build. In addition to that, a planet will also support a number of outposts from that colony that will be also player owned, but the space and the rent for those will be paid to the planet owner.
So
So
do
let's
you
say,
want to go into that a bit more? So like as a player that I don't own a planet,
mhm,
uh, I rent a spot on that planet. Is that how it
correct.
works?
We,
Yeah.
we want there's going to be a limited number of planets, but we want everybody to be able to interact with them and to have some type of impact on what happens with regards to the colonization of this galaxy. So, uh, yes, there will be few number of planet owners, but everybody will have an opportunity to participate in those by renting out a space on a planet to build their own outpost or small colony, which will also help contribute towards the growth of that planet and kind of that planet's evolution uh, in in this galaxy. So at the top of each section, you'll have a planet owner, and that planet owner will build out a facility, and then they'll also be able to have these additional spots that are outposts for non-planet owners to rent that space and to build out their outpost and build up their colony and their population there. So first of all, how this all ties together is at a planet level, the planet owner will decide kind of how they want their planet to evolve, and they'll get to make some choices and decisions and kind of what their tech is going to be for their planet. There's going to be a evolution or tech tree where the planet owner will make decisions about what to focus their research on and kind of where they want to grow their planet colony and what they want to focus on. And some of those examples would be if they want to focus on manufacturing of producing goods. Another one would be the habitation and basically the support for people to dwell on this planet. A third one would be a shipyard that allows you to produce other ships that will then be used in the game and purchased by other players. And then finally, satellite facilities that can be used at your planet that can increase your ability to do things such as discover other planets and allow people that come to your planet to use that facility. It could be for defenses of your planet, and then for seeking out other potential things that you may want to find that whether it's alien life forms or wreckage or resources, kind of more scanning type functions from the satellite facility.
So can I rent on any planet then, or like
You you
is this
can. So
written?
as a fleet commander, you will have the option to rent at any planet that has an opening outpost slot. Right now, I think we're expecting to have roughly 10 outpost slots available per planet. So each planet will open that up wider and wider to the larger community.
So if I want to play with my friends, like, do we all try and just rent on the same planet? Is that sort of how it might work?
I would expect that would happen, yes. So you're probably likely to have social groups that form and want to work together towards common goals, and I would fully expect to see that type of activity from groups of friends, or even if they're not friends, to start creating kind of these social groups to align on what they want to see happen with their planet and their outpost, because the outposts are dependent on that planet colony, that original colony, for the capabilities that they're going to have and the development that they can do at their individual outpost. So one thing that people may be thinking is, if I'm renting this, what does that mean for my assets? What if I can't pay the rent, or what if I don't want to rent here anymore? What happens? So outposts are going to be really positioned as movable structures, kind of similar, akin to that of maybe like if you think of Terran and StarCraft, how their buildings and stuff could jettison off the planet and move to different locations. These are going to be mobile facilities, but you will still choose where to place these in your outpost or planetary structure, and how they're configured in order so that you gain specific bonuses or abilities within your outpost or planet. I hope that makes sense so far. Does anybody have any questions? David, I know since this is kind of the first time hearing this for you, uh, do you have any questions specifically about that?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I feel like I am understanding most of it, and it can kind of picture and articulate how it's going to come together.
Okay,
But I
cool.
think I think
Well,
just naturally explaining it more will fill in some of those gaps.
all right, so I'll keep going ahead then. I can't wait to share some of the visuals with this. Most of what we have right now is not ready to be visually shown, but I wanted to start with the outpost. Outposts are going to be the main thing that help contribute towards the progress of your planetary tech tree. So basically, each outpost that exists on a planet will be providing a certain number of research points towards the progression of the planet owner's selected tech advancement. So let's say, Alpha Planet One has 6 outposts that people have chosen to rent and are building out their outpost, and they generate a rate of 1 research point per hour that they exist and are maintained on that planet. So that means, as a planet owner, I'm now getting 6 points of research per hour that I get to allocate towards my tech tree and what I want my planet to really focus on, whether it's, those original categories that I mentioned, the manufacturing, habitation, my shipyards, or my satellite facilities. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of drops down as you go through that tree that you can focus on. If I go down the shipyard tree, do I want to focus on creating the next tier ship that's, a frigate, or do I want to really go for like a long-term decision? If I want to work towards an in-game ship, and it's going to take a long time, but they'll, maybe I'm one of the first ones that can open up the ability to build those, and there will be value in that. So the first thing that I want to really discuss is kind of how revenue is generated for these planets, and what it's used for.
Oh,
So obviously we talk. Go
really
ahead.
quick,
Sorry.
sorry. Yeah, go okay, so going back to the outpost and
Mhm.
the points per hour. So there's different tiers of for the outpost, like
Right.
different
So
levels or
your as your
upgrades.
outpost grows, and it's imagining like a city developer building development game where you're going to start with basically a tier 1 outpost, which is the
Hmm.
lowest level. It's very uh, basic in what your capabilities are. But as you build up that outpost, it's going to grow, and you'll change from just an outpost to maybe a town, and then a town to a city, and as the
So
evolution of your
that
outpost.
outpost actually has a population?
Yes, it does. And that's actually where, sorry, that's a good call out, where your population is going to reside. And as you colonize, is at these outposts and at the planet center itself. Because the colonists have to have a place to live, and you'll have to provide structures for your population to live, such as barracks or housing. Excuse me. There's
So
gonna
so is there's like a separate, I guess, I'm just gonna call it a tech tree because I don't know what label we're putting on it.
Sure.
That these points are going towards that will upgrade and give additional structures, benefits, what have you, to the colony and or planet.
Exactly, and the tech for your planet will really dictate what your outposts are able to evolve to. So, for example, when I mentioned the category of habitation,
Hmm.
that really focuses on what resource production you have and how much energy production you have, because everything at an outpost or planet is going to consume resources of some various type. We've got 6 really statistics that we're looking at right now that kind of measure an outpost. One being its cost, like its maintenance cost to maintain all of the structures and the population it has, and then two being its population. You may have a max capacity to support, 120 citizens, and you might be at like 50 out of that or 100 out of that. You'll also have your power requirements to run all of your facilities, the materials it takes to continually keep those things running, and then your food and your water for your population. And there will be facilities that increase the generation rates of those stats or those resources, and then also others that consume them to produce other resources, if that makes sense. So they're all kind of tied together in where they consume each other to generate more one or the other. And then the goal here is just to increase your population. So as your population increases and your outpost grows, you have more people that are kind of contributing to that planetary tech research. It's kind of like their day job and what it is that they're doing.
So is that kind of like a mini component of the whole game is actually a city builder game?
Yes, absolutely. And that's really where the colonization of this galaxy comes into play. So it's not all just ships and ship combat. There is that building and city development aspect of the game as well.
So is there a little bit of clout in being able to say that I've built the biggest city versus someone else?
I would say there's going to be a lot of clout that goes towards that. And that's kind of what I want to talk about next is what is the benefit of doing so? Like, what is my motivation for wanting to have, a really big outpost or a really big planet that has a lot of population? So uh, there's kind of basically three different things that feed into a planet's economy. One, we talked about the outpost rent. Are all of my available spaces to rent out? Are they occupied? Do we have people that want to be part of my planet? Am I doing the right things as a planet owner to attract people to come to my planet and build outposts? So all of that income that I get from the rent is going to go into a planet bank. Now that income is not directly accessible by the planet owner. They'll have access to a portion of it through some of the tasks that they do as a planet owner. But what that income does, and that's going to be DTRM, our primary currency, is used to pay people that want to come do jobs at my planet that are going to help the evolution of my tech and help my planet and my population grow. So as I advanced through my tech tree, one of the things that we talked about was manufacturing. Let's say I want to build a retrofit factory. Retrofits are one of the things that we've talked about previously that allow people to modify their ships and basically improve them as they level up and have more resources to contribute towards improving their fleet. So one of the things that someone could do as a planet owner is build a retrofit factory that focuses on a specific type of retrofit, whether it's weapons or shields or support systems or propulsion. Those are the main categories we're looking at. And what happens is once I, as a planet owner, have that facility, I am basically a supplier to ACE. ACE is the Andromeda Colonization Expedition, which really is the focal point of everything that takes place in the game. But once I have that facility, I'm now a supplier, and people will go to ACE to basically purchase these items. And then when they're purchased, the revenue that's generated from purchasing those is then split amongst all of the manufacturers of that type of good. So let's say I have level one's weapon retrofit factory, and I'm producing augmented ballistics. That's what our factory is focused on or discovered the ability to create. So we're supplying those to ACE. Players in the game that want to have those for their ships will go to ACE and buy them, and then the money that's spent to purchase them is then divided and split between all of the planets that have the capability to produce that retrofit. So this really means that getting to something, the ability to produce something that nobody else has a lot of value in that. And as more people discover or get the ability to do so, the value in doing that will become less and less. Now, it still may be worth your time because there may be something further down the tree that you want to get access to, or it may just be something that's a really commonly used item that everybody is going to want a lot of. So there's going to be a lot of small revenue generated from that.
Well, I guess
Uh,
the player base could increase with time as well. So, like, you might
Absolutely,
be early to get it, but actually not earn much from that. But then if you get it later in the game, there's so many players that it's worth a lot.
exactly. And again, this is where some of the strategy comes into play as a planet owner is where do I want to focus my tech research? Do I want to go for something that is a more everyday used item that everybody's going to need a lot of, or do I want to go for really big items like a really big ship or specific satellite facilities or or things of that nature. So there's a lot of choices to be made at a planet owner level to determine what you want to do, and why I talked about those social aspect of the game, because people that decide to build their outposts there may want to be able to contribute to this as well and see their planet grow. There may be certain areas that they want to focus on and see developed within the game to unlock specific things for them to use for their ships. So
So,
that's two of.
so if I was on a planet and this planet owner is making these decisions, if I don't like the decisions the planet owner is making, what do I do?
You can choose to vacate. You can choose to stop leasing from that planet owner and take your outpost and take it to a different planet where somebody is doing something that you're interested in.
Interesting. So like as the planet owner, then I've got to be a little bit concerned about what my tenants
I
are.
would say that would be a very wise choice, is to have an idea of what the people at at your planet and that own outposts at your planet have an interest in. That would make a very wise planet owner.
But I still my choice, so I don't have to. I could do what I want and find new people too.
Exactly. Yeah, if you want to focus on something, that's your right as a planet owner to make that call, and then but it's still, how quickly you're going to advance is going to depend on how many people you can kind of get to back your decision that are interested in the same things that you are.
Wow, interesting gameplay.
Yep. So this is really kind of the first social aspect that we've talked about as far as one of the core systems of the game. But I'm really interested to see how this is going to play out. We've got a lot of kind of expectations of what could happen, but it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out with our actual community and as we go through testing. All right, so going back, so we've talked about two of the three ways that planets generate DTRM, their revenue. The last one is going to be coming from royalties. So we're going to ask, what are royalties? So as planets are discovered, there's going to be this lineage. So planets will be able to produce things like satellites that help the possibility of finding other planets through exploration. When someone chooses to do the task of exploration with one of their ships, they're going to choose to do so from an existing planet. So let's say I'm at the first alpha planet colony in the galaxy, and I start doing my exploration from there, and I find, as people are doing this over and over again, somebody finds the next planet. Now, this is what we talked about before. When I discover a planet, I get first rights to own that planet. And what it takes to own a planet is you must choose one of your fleets and your ships, and you're going to basically turn that into a colony. You're going to salvage your ship and basically transform that into that starting colony at a planet. And by making that decision when you discover one, that planet is now yours, and now you have all of these same controls and responsibilities that the previous planet owner that you started working from had when they created that. So there's a lot of value in that, or potential value in that, from that discovery mechanism. So let's say I discover the second planet in the alpha colony. Now the royalties are going to generate from the production at that planet. So let's call this Alpha 2. Alpha 2 is going to build up the same way that Alpha 1 did, and they're going to build their facilities, and they're going to have outposts that contribute towards their research, and they're going to be getting their own rent. But now a portion of that rent and all of the income from those two other avenues that we talked about, from your rent and from your production income, a portion of that is going to go back to Alpha 1, because that was the parent colony or the parent planet, and it kind of creates that lineage tree. So you can see how this is going to progress as the next planet is discovered from A2. Let's say they discover A3 that's further down the line. Percentage will
Well,
pass back to A2.
on that point there, so is it actually become A3, or does it reporting or like paying royalties to A2, or does it become A 2.1 giving royalties back to A1?
A very good question, and this is something that we're still we have a couple of ideas of how we want this to play out. But all the royalties will continually pass back the line. Through your lineage line. So even if a planet way down the tree is producing royalties, all of those are basically going to funnel back to the original alpha colony, A1. So the more planets that are discovered, from your planet and kind of extending your lineage tree, the more potential revenue you have to flow back to your planet.
Well, on that point, did we talk about how we actually discover the planets?
A little bit. So that's what I was mentioning is you're going to choose where you want to do your exploration from, kind of your starting point for your ships. So if I have one of my ships doing exploration from A1, and it's basically a circumference around that, or kind of choosing the path near that planet. It's going to discover most likely the closest planet to A1, and then that when discovered, you know, inherits that A or that alpha trait because it was a child discovery of the alpha colony.
Ah,
Does that
so
make sense?
so if I discover a planet from A1, then I'll pay my royalties to A1. But if I discover it from A2, then I'll pay it to A2. Is that how that's going to work?
Correct. But then still, all of that income that A2 generates, a portion of that still passes back to A1 because that's kind of the third in the first in line of that lineage.
Ah, so there's a lot of choice as to which planet you want to do that exploration from.
Exactly. And what one of the things that will influence people's decisions is if that planet is chosen to specialize in finding other planets. That's one of the tech things that someone could focus in is in that satellite that really helps increase your chances of finding a planet. So maybe my planet is chosen not to focus on manufacturing retrofits or modifications for my command center, but in finding more planets to build out that lineage. So they could, if the A colony line decides that that's what they're going to focus on or a specific planet, they could find the majority of the planets in the game because that's what they put their focus on more so than Zeta or Delta because they've chose to focus on production.
And
And
then
have
also,
we
I guess, if my friend's found a planet, I've got a benefit to potentially find my planet from his planet.
Exactly. And that'll influence people. Like I definitely want to help my buddy, so if I'm going to go and do exploration, I'm going to do it from his planet so that if when I discover mine, I'll be those that revenue back into his planet and it helps us both.
and have we discussed the original how many did we say? Original six? Eight
Six
planets?
original colonies.
Uh
Yes.
um who own those are owned by Ace?
Uh, Unclear at this point. We've talked about a couple of different things. I think we want these to be community owned. So uh, we might uh, do them as an auction. We might put them up for a straight sale. We might
Mm.
even do one or two as giveaways to our community members through some special promotion. So we do expect that the original colonies will be owned by players of the game. We don't want to have those owned by Ace.
Okay.
So a lot of benefit in getting one of those early planets, as you can see, especially as that lineage grows and all of those pass-through revenues are starting to be generated. So Sam, I think you mentioned this a while ago, is like talking about that affiliation. Uh, what if all of a sudden I, as a planet owner, because I still have choices to do with my planet, don't like what my parent planet is deciding to do as far as their tech or the choices that they're making? That is where we're going to introduce the ability for a planet to choose its affiliation. And there will be a pretty significant cost to do this. But let's say, Planet A4 that was discovered does, decides that, I was discovered from A2, my planet that I own. I did it when I was research or scanning from A2, but I just don't really like what A2 is doing, and I want to benefit somebody else. They could change their affiliation to Beta, but there would be a significant cost to do that. So now all of their revenue stream and all of the planets downstream from that are discovered would feed into that other colony. So this kind of creates, a Game of Thrones-esque style of uh, affiliation and royalties and fealty and stuff like that that can take place in the game. So it adds a whole nother level of social interaction that can take place, as well as the potential for you know making people happy and even potentially upsetting some people with their choices that are made.
So if I want to, as a planet owner, do certain things, I can't, like, I have to keep my tenants, the outposts owners happy, but then also have to consider all the planets downstream, the planet owners as well.
Yes, exactly.
Wow.
Well, you don't have to. It just depends on what you desire, but it would behoove you to probably do that.
So also building up the biggest downstream series of planets is beneficial.
Absolutely. and then you may have people that are able to influence people to kind of defect to their colony line or something along those lines, and build out this large community that has a massive planets. And so there's definitely an advantage to doing that, and working out with the other planet owners like how that affiliation is going.
So even let's say I was late to the game, like I wasn't one of the first planet owners, I could
Hmm.
still get a bigger affiliation if I convince people to come and affiliate with me.
Absolutely.
So this is gonna like the I guess the Game of Thrones map of whose fealties to who is gonna change with time
Ab-
potentially.
It will, and especially imagine what happens when somebody decides that, hey, I want to, I think that my planet's worth a lot. I want to sell this now. I'm going to sell this to somebody else. What if the new owner makes different decisions? What if they have a different goal and change their affiliation in some way? That has a downstream impact to everything, every other planet in their organization. So we kind of one thing I also want to stress is we've talked about kind of what is the downstream effects, or what happens to the original colonies, but there's also a benefit for each planet that's discovered further in the chain. So as once I discover a planet from that's really the next one in that line, what is the benefit for me is that planet owner? What that planet owner receives is a discounted cost for their research. So let's say the planet that I uh, was doing my exploration from had a focus on finding other planets. That means when I go as a planet owner to choose what tech I want to research, I will be able to do that at a quicker rate because I'll receive a bonus from my parent planet. Now, maybe I don't want to focus on planet, research, and that's okay. I can make that decision and go and do something else. But I have that ability to receive a discount on the time that it takes or the points that it takes to be able to research the same thing as my parent planet. And that could also cause people to choose to change their affiliation from one to another. And maybe they do it temporarily. Maybe somebody's going to go, well, I want, this is the tech that we're researching right now. So I want to affiliate with, you know, uh, Delta 4, who's already gotten to tier 3 of this research. And, maybe they'll pay that cost to increase their research time, or sorry, to decrease their research time and the speed at which they can advance in that area.
Oh yeah, I see. So that's like that's why I might switch to a different loyalty
Exactly.
because
Yep.
I want to have retrofit factories, but the planet that I'm
That my
linked to,
parent planet. Yeah,
yeah, my parent planet, they haven't done that. So maybe I want to affiliate with someone else.
exactly.
Oh, interesting.
So a lot of potential for politics there. You know, one, friendships, community, social, but also, you know, capitalism type effect to it as well. Like what behooves my planet the most, and what it is that I want to accomplish, and what's the best way that I can do that. What provides the best opportunity for me there. But again, when a planet owner makes those decisions, it also is going to have an impact to the other uh, outposts on their planet, the people that own outposts and are renting those, and whether or not they may choose, well, you switched because and now you're not doing what I want to do, so I'm going to take my outpost from your planet and put it somewhere else.
So we've got these six starting planets.
Hmm.
Do we want to talk about the potential the points related to those different
Sorry,
action points?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Can you?
Yeah, we've briefly talked about faction points related to doing things on different
Hmm.
planets. Do we want to
Oh,
talk about that?
oh yeah. Sorry, you're talking. Yeah, your basically reputation or your standing with each of these colonies. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a good one. I'm glad you brought that up. We hadn't talked about that before. We talked about what we were going to discover or I guess discuss in this call. But uh, as a commander, as you do activities at a specific planet, and whether they're jobs or events or exploration, you're basically going to generate reputation for that colony, one of those six original colonies. So that means as you go to purchase things or to do things at those planets, based on your reputation, the cost may be less or you may have the ability to reach certain things that are only available to a certain level of reputation. So let's say that I've been doing most of my work throughout Alpha Colony, and I've built the top tier reputation with Alpha Colony, and they get a special event that comes up. That event may be limited to only the people with the highest reputation in Alpha Colony's uh, reputation line or faction loyalty.
So even if I'm not concerned or not far enough along in the game about outposts and planets, I still have to choose like which planet system I want to get reputation at.
Exactly. And then again, it's not just a choice of where I want reputation, but the development of these planets are also going to determine the types of events that come up and the types of jobs that come up and what the rewards are. So a planet that's focusing on trying to find aliens or specific resources are going to create jobs that do that, and people will assign their ships to do these jobs or these missions that will have specific rewards as well. So it's very much tied into what the commanders and their fleet are going to want to do to what a planet's research is and what their focus is as far as the ability to create jobs, events, and exploration.
So when I start playing this game, like yeah, I kind of want to start looking for the planets I want to associate with, like almost right from the start.
Very likely, but I mean, it could be a couple of different things. Maybe I'm just looking for specific things. Maybe I really just want to focus on building out my speed ship, and I'm going to go wherever an event pops up that has a retrofit that increases speed, or which job comes up that has the best return on the time spent, and that may vary on several different factors, but they will all originate from one of these colonies or one of the planets. So you'll still be building up that reputation. But then, as I start to play a little bit and I start realizing, hey, there's things coming up that I can't participate in because I don't have the reputation necessary with that colony to enter their events or their jobs. So now I want to spend more time focusing on, beta colonies, uh, jobs and assignments so that I can have access become available.
And I guess if you were thinking about switching planet, like if you owned a planet and you want to switch your your fealty to someone else, you might want to have reputation with them beforehand.
Very likely, yes. And maybe that's even a requirement. We haven't discussed exactly what that costs. Do we expect it to be high? But maybe that's one of the mechanisms we put in place where I can't change my fealty to another colony unless I have a certain level of reputation.
So there's benefits to focus potentially to focusing on a reputation of one particular group,
Hmm.
or maybe getting two or three, or maybe just doing like anything everywhere.
Exactly.
So lots of choices there for
Th-
those
there could be,
players.
there's pros and cons to all of those different possibilities. So I know that was a lot to take in. There's really a lot to dig into here, but we want the game to feel immersive and also feel like there's a lot of value and choices and benefit in the decisions that you make along the way of playing this game, where they have really meaningful impacts to both you and the people that you're playing with.
Yes. And I mean, again, because I haven't been privy or in a lot of the conversations regarding the planet, it is like I am very happy to like hear that it is kind of like it's not its own game, but it's like it's a very separate and distinct component of the larger game, and it's not, it's not
Yeah,
all ships and fleets and like
exactly.
PvP type of thing, but like it has this kind of resource management, building up a community and building up a base, like sort of aspect to it.
Exactly. And again, like we've only kind of talked about a surface level of this, but there's a lot of choices to be made even at that outpost level, and how I develop my outpost and my town or my city or whatever involves in with regards to the resource management, managing my population, keeping them safe from, you know, pirates or nature, whatever else can happen. It's still pretty in depth, and we'll probably talk more about that in a later segment. But I at least wanted to kind of get the surface level details of how this segment of the game is going to work, and we'll do a deeper dive into those things probably in a future episode.
Yeah, no, that's great. Definitely a lot of information, but a lot to just kind of sink your teeth into and get a better grasp of
Yeah,
what we're
for sure.
thinking long term. Yeah.
I want to give an opportunity if there's anybody watching right now that has any questions. Now would be a great time to pop those into the chat. And for anybody that does happen to be watching the VOD later on, please come over to the Discord if you have questions about what we've covered today, and I welcome any questions there, and we'll gladly answer them.
Yeah.
Also, a shout out and hello to O'Helen and Turner Game Dev, who have been chatting in the chat during the stream.
Thank you both.
And if you want to come and chat with us in the next one, definitely follow us on Twitter and Discord to catch the next one.
Yeah, I think we've been doing bi-weekly or bi-weekly every since the beginning. So tentatively, we're looking at the 3rd of December right now. But yeah, we'll put like some posts and some posters out to confirm that once we get a little bit closer. But yeah, thanks Russ for going into like great detail
My
for
pleasure.
the planets, how to find them, their functionality, things like that. Um, Anybody who's here watching on the stream or on the VOD rather, thanks for stopping by. Um, what else is
Before we
there?
end, could I
Yeah,
try and do maybe like a 1 minute summary of everything that Russ has talked about?
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be great.
absolutely.
This is like a challenge for me because it's right off the top of my head to see if I can capture everything we talked about real quick. So you go exploring, you find a planet, you sacrifice a ship or convert your ship into an outpost on that planet. And then as the outpost, you've got to build like a city with people to contribute and research technology on your tech tree.
Yep.
And then that in itself is a whole mini game of like building up your city. And then you've got the finding other planets from your planet and creating links of planets fealty to other planets. And then there's faction or colony points based on which planets and groups you're doing jobs at. Did I miss anything? I probably did.
I I think that's a pretty good summary. I think the only other thing is, kind of how the revenue ties in and generating that for a planet and kind of the pass back to the other planets. I don't know if I heard you mention that, but
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, and then also the going forward, you get benefits of cheaper research on your planet from
exactly.
being tied to another planet.
And again, like all of these planets and these colonies on these planets are what's going to generate the activities for commanders to send their ships to do. Everything will be tied back to a planet aside from there'll be just a very basic base level job that you could do for Ace, but 99.9% of the things that you're going to do will have some association to one of these colonies or planets.
I feel like when I play, I like city builders. I feel like I want to try and build
Mm-mm.
the biggest population I possibly can.
I feel you. I'm the same way. I want to have a planet, but I also want to have an outpost in somebody else's planet. I want to experience it from both avenues.
Well, that's a good question. Like, can you do that?
Absolutely.
And what about outposts on like multiple planets?
You could. So, that's actually a good question. So, you could potentially own a planet and basically rent all of the outposts from yourself. But there will be things at a command center level that the more different commanders you have, the more beneficial it's going to be for your planet. And what fun is it to own a company and you have to do all the work and pay yourself? Like that you want to share with your friends and be able to get people to help you. I mean, it'd be a really quite a bit to maintain and to manage to run all of the outposts on your planet. But I purely expect that somebody could and might do that. But I think they will have enough incentives and reasons for people to not do so with regards to the things that you could do it at command center level that would benefit an outpost or a planet.
And could I put an outpost on like each of the different colony groups and have
Abs-
like 6 outposts?
yes, you could,
Neat.
and you'll generate reputation by doing so.
Very neat versus just doing 6 with the same
Hmm.
one. So that's also like an additional level higher than just doing the jobs.
Yeah,
It's also putting
and,
colonies.
and it might be beneficial. The other thing that we didn't really talk about a lot that we are anticipating doing is, you know, where is your command center station? Because you're going to have to pick a location that you're kind of positioning your command center at, so that that influences the jobs and the missions that you're doing, the cost to send one of your ships to do one within its proximity of where your ship is based, whether it's at your command center, or actually we didn't talk about this too, but outposts and planet owners will have extended capabilities for the number of ships that they can control and be able to have docking and hangars facilities for their ships at their outposts and planets. So that will also extend your capabilities as a fleet commander to control more ships.
So if my main command center is on one side of the galaxy, I can put an outpost on the other side of the galaxy to help me do jobs there.
Exactly.
And
So
cheaper.
there's some strategy there within the geography of where everything is laid out,
So kind of like a fuel
or
cost of
astrology.
like
Exactly.
the transport of where everything's located. Like I can't just fly around the galaxy for free. It costs me a bit to move and do jobs at different places
That's right. Gas is expensive.
in every galaxy.
And in every galaxy, or at least it's a commodity. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
super expensive, but it is a commodity and one of the resources that you're going to want to be able to manage. And why would I want to spend 10 times as much of this resource if I could just position an outpost or my command center at a different location that's focused on doing the things that I am interested in participating in.
It's going to be real interesting to see, you know, which commanders build up a following and which ones um, don't, and which ones
Don't.
come. That's going to
Yeah.
be real interesting.
I mean, imagine somebody who doesn't put in the time, or does picks the wrong strategy. It could really drop the ability for them to bring people to their out or to their planet, and build up a following, and help
Or if,
produce that.
conversely, if I didn't want to play the game that much, but I had a big influence, I could build a giant following under me.
Very true. And then kind of sit back and let everybody else do the work for you. Very,
Lots of
very true.
options.
Yep.
But that'll, we'll definitely see, and I'm sure, we've talked about this before. We'll see what works, what doesn't work, and I'm sure people will come up with many ideas that we haven't yet considered, and
Yep.
it's all part of
And then
figuring out how it's going to work.
and then after it's going, we get to release an expansion that could turn everything sideways and change everything. So it'll be cool to see people pivot to new content that comes out as well.
Yeah.
It'll also be exciting. We haven't really talked about much of the lore behind this game
I
yet. It'll be exciting when we can, and like what the different groups mean to
That's a
that.
good point. Maybe the 1 in 2 weeks, if we've got enough that we can share at that point, that would be a good topic for that stream.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah,
see.
I think we have a couple more meetings planned to flesh out some more stuff. Yeah, definitely a
Yep.
potential for that.
If not that one, maybe the one after.
Yeah.
Give a little more time to let this stuff curate.
Okay.
All
Well,
right. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you coming by and checking out the stream or the VOD. Uh, Look forward to seeing you all in Discord, and seeing you at the next one of these.
yeah. Yes.
Thank you, Sam and David. Really appreciate you being here as well and contributing.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you
All right.
guys next time.
Later, guys. Take
Bye.
care.